Hello, folks. Welcome to the first Ghostball show. I'm your host, Paul Goodwin. We have captured Father Time. Here, we balance the Major League Baseball playing field, and we tell you who is best. And we're here in the beautiful Santa Clarita Valley in Southern California. What we do is we put each player into what we call the normal season. How we do that is proprietary, but once they're in the normal season, it's easy to determine which player was better at whatever statistic it is we're talking about. We combine those normal season numbers into one number, which we call the player's all-time points, or ATP, for that season. When calculating the player's Hall of Fame ATP, more weight is given to the better seasons. We also have the Negro Leagues from 1920 through 1948. The weight I put on defensive statistics is reduced. One, I have no idea if it was a ground ball pitching staff or a fly ball pitching staff. And two, every time a defensive player makes a great play, that's one less out available for every other defensive player to make. Strikeouts are taken out of the equation for more accuracy. Is Ghostball for you? Well, take a look at this. Tell me what you're thinking. If you said weapons of mass destruction, we might let you in. But if you said Willie, Mickey, and the Duke, come on in, brother. Prop your feet up, have a seat. Would you like a Snapple? You're in the right place. And here are some examples of why baseball statistics cannot be taken at face value. 1930 in the National League, Bill Terry led the league with a 401 batting average. The entire league that year batted 303. Now fast forward to 1968 in the American League, Carl Yastrzemski led the league with a 301 batting average, 2 points below the average batting average in 1930 National League. If you put Yaz in 1930, he would be the 33rd best hitter that year, which is ridiculous. The entire league in 1968 American League only batted 230. Now what you could do if you wanted to put Yastrzemski in 1930 National League, you could take 301 divided by 230 and multiply it by 303, and you come out with 397. And you can see he's getting close to Bill Terry. Unfortunately, that's not the right answer. That's kind of the right idea, getting in the right ballpark, so to speak, but that's not the right answer. And that's what we do here is we try to be exact. Now, so here we can see we just have the league separated. Got Carl Yastrzemski leading his league with a 301 batting average, Danny Cater in second. Then you've got the 1930 National League here. Here's what it would look like if we just line them up best to worst batting average. You see that everyone in 1968 is below these guys in 1930. Time twisters. We go to the time twister to find out what really we get. Put everyone into the normal season, and here's what we get. You can see that Carl Yastrzemski here leads in the normal season with a 338 batting average, followed by Bill Terry with the 336, etc., etc. And look what would happen if we put everybody into 1930 in the National League. Yastrzemski's going to lead Terry throughout time because he's a few points ahead of him. No matter where they go, he's always going to lead him in any league. So in 1930 National League, if we put Yastrzemski back then, he would bat 405 in a normal season. Bill Terry would go from 401 to 403 in an average stadium. Remember, when we put them back into their own league, they're in an average stadium. And if we put everyone into 1967 in the American League, of course, Yastrzemski still leads. In an average stadium, he would bat 303. Bill Terry would bat 301 and 294 for Danny Cater. So on and so on. In 1927, when Babe Ruth hit 60 home runs, people used to say, well, he hit more home runs than entire teams, and he did. There were 16 teams in Major League Baseball back then, and only 4 teams hit more home runs as a team than Ruth did. And one of those teams was the New York Yankees, not counting Babe Ruth. So if you did the same thing, his home runs divided by the average times, let's say the average in 2018, Ruth would hit something like 186 home runs, which is ridiculous. So that's not the way to calculate this. He would hit approximately 72 home runs with his 540 at-bats that he had back in 1927. Interested? Good. Why? Why did Ruth hit so many more home runs, and why can't he hit 186 today? Ruth was tied for fourth tallest baseball player in the major leagues back in 1927. Fast forward put him into 1996 when the Yankees won the World Series. Then he would be tied for the shortest outfielder on the team. Let's take a look. Babe Ruth was 6'2" tall. Gerald Williams was also 6'2". Bernie Williams was 6'2". Paul O'Neill, 6'4". Darryl Strawberry, 6'6". You can see Ruth is tied for third tallest player in the outfield on that one team. That's why home runs weren't hit back in the 1920s, because you simply didn't have players that were tall enough. Height implies weight, which implies strength. So when a player signs, their height isn't going to change. Their weight will change. I think Juan Gonzalez signed at the, 6'4", he signed 175 pounds or something, which is ridiculous. The guy was 240 pounds. And in case you're interested, Lou Gehrig was 6 feet tall. And oh, by the way, back in 1927, the baseball fields had a line drawn approximately, I think it was 250 feet from home plate. If the ball bounced over that line and then into the stands, it was considered a home run, not a ground rule double. Not that Ruth needed anyone's help. I'm just saying these are the kind of things you need to think about. So we just have to look at the data a little more closely. What is ATP? ATP is the amount of runs or points a team would score per game if every player were that player. Except when the player is batting, we assume an average runner is on base, and when the player is running, we assume an average batter is batting. ATP, we balance the playing field. Put every player into the same year, league, and stadium facing the same pitcher, same average pitcher over and over and over again. Let's break down a single, for example, just to show you how we do it. So single has 3 parts. First part is the odds of a player driving in a run. The second part is the odds of that player that got the single scoring above or below average, or hitting it, knocking in a run, RBI, above or below average. So each player is going to get a different number by the time it's all said and done for each single, depending on what they do mathematically with that single. And the third part is you didn't drive in a run, but there was a runner on base who you moved into scoring position who would later score because you didn't make an out and because you moved him up. So the single has 3 parts to it. 1960s, the height of the mound was 6 inches higher than it is now, so the pitchers could throw harder. I think it was 1964, Don Drysdale heard that Sandy Koufax had pitched his 3rd no-hitter. Drysdale's response was, did he win it? Well, that shows you how hard it was to get to score in the 1960s. Here's a good example of ATP. What better way to start it out, first one, than with Willie, Mickey, and the Duke. Back in the 1950s, New York had 3 teams, and Willie Mays played for the New York Giants, Mickey Mantle played for the New York Yankees, and Duke Snider was the center fielder for the Brooklyn Dodgers. And the fans would argue over who had the best center fielder, hence the tune Willie, Mickey, and the Duke. Well, no one really knows who is better, except you will find out today because you have Ghostball, and Ghostball has ATP. Think of me as a detective, a baseball detective. I show up at the baseball statistical crime scene, I analyze the evidence, the statistics, and I tell you who done it. Back to Willie, Mickey, and the Duke. They all played together in New York from 1951 through 1958. So if we just look at those statistics...
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, sir. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to...
Lieutenant.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt anything. But isn't it true that Snyder played in New York before Mays and Mandel got to the city, sir?
Yes, but we're interested in what happened while they were all in New York.
Well, I was just thinking, sir, it's just a thought I had. I get these things, that maybe that might have been some of his better seasons, and you might want to include him because you don't want to cheat the dude.
I'm not trying to cheat anybody
Oh,
here.
no, I didn't mean to imply anything, sir. I'm sorry if that's the opinion you got.
Look, I have the stats right here.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for clearing that up for me.
All right. Oh, and Lieutenant, next time you're in town, give me a heads up, and I'll give you tickets to the show.
Oh, you don't have to do that, sir. You don't have to do that at all. The wife would love to go see the show, sir. I mean, she loves you. She loves you, sir. She watches you all.
How could I forget the missus? 2 tickets.
Thank you, sir.
Where are my manners, Lieutenant?
I know you YouTubers are busy, you Hollywood types. You got so much on your mind. I don't know how you keep it all straight. I couldn't do that, sir. I couldn't do your job for you.
Goodbye. Nice to see you. Take care.
Oh, just one more thing, sir. Sorry about it. If you don't mind, sir, if you don't mind. This just been bothering me, and I can't get it out of my head. Isn't it true that Snyder played in the Bronx, sir?
No. He played for the Mets at Shea at the end of his career also. No. Lieutenant, he played for the Mets in the Polo Grounds before they built Shea. You trying to trick me, Lieutenant?
Oh, I knew you'd have an answer for that, sir. I knew you'd have an answer for that one.
You don't miss a trick, do you?
Well, I try, sir. You have a good day, sir.
Back to ATP. And so included in ATP is home runs, triples, doubles, singles, and walks. And row, reached on air, non-Ks, you get points for not striking out because in theory you would move a runner up. Minus points for double plays. You get points for sacrifice flies, sacrifice hits. And then you get what we were talking about before, running triples, running doubles, running singles because of your specific scoring ability or your ability to drive in more runs. Outs on base, already talked about that, outfield assists, and putouts and double plays and assists for infielders. And also for catchers, pass balls and throwing runners out. An average ATP is 4.0. So what? So you got ATP, what can you do with it? Well, this opens up a whole new ball game, so to speak, because we can take the ATP that the player got, multiply each player on the team by their plate appearance, and so you're going to get a total number on that. And then divide that by the total plate appearances for the team, and you have a team ATP. So now we can tell who had the best position players. If we disregard the defensive statistics because they are already present in the pitcher's statistics, then we just take the batters minus the pitcher's ATP and we have a team ATP, which means now we can tell who the best team was of all time, or we can tell who had the best offense of all time, or who had the best pitching staff of all time, or the best top 2 pitchers, the best top 2 batters, whatever it is you want to figure out. ATP opens up a whole new section of baseball for us to analyze and actually know, settling some arguments. So now let's get into one of my favorite subjects, the Hall of Fame.